Hi, welcome to Ladies Talk Show. This is Leah Richheimer. We are in chapter 6 on page 124, and we are doing really good stuff about control. This is hard. I get it. Okay, so if you've been following along, you know that we are in deep dive in the control issue, and hopefully we get a lot of questions today from last class also. So I'm going to read 2 short sections and then start with the questions. Okay, who's driving? However, we must acknowledge the bleak reality that in fighting for equality, women have usurped man's intrinsic nature of desperately needing to be in control. Men need it desperately. We never even questioned whether having control added value to our lives, which it did not. After all, what woman truly has a surge of elation at proving that her husband yet again has shown himself to be incompetent at something, right? Like, hello, what a dummy. No, it's horrible. You feel like you want a guy of stature. Okay. Nonetheless, many women make great sport of exposing how inept their husbands are, much to their own detriment, meaning we think we're putting him down, but it makes our whole life sag lower and lower. Emblazon this on your mind. A man needs to feel that he is in control of his world. He needs to feel that he has power and control, or he becomes a shadow of himself, and this will negatively impact on his ability to function. It is as if the blood is drained from his body and he is lying ill. All apathy that your husband has can likely be traced to the fact that he has been robbed of his power and has lost all hope of regaining it. Is this the saddest thing ever? Look at everyone's faces like grim and woo. Okay. Control here means that a man must have a sense that he is the one driving the car, not anxiously sitting in the back seat, powerless to do anything, to affect anything. That is a recipe for a very unhappy man. Only you hold the key to building him into the man you wished he were, by giving him back one of the greatest needs he has, which is to have a sense of control and to feel that you are looking up to him and following his lead. Control in this sense must not be confused with an overly controlling or abusive relationship. If you have issues or concerned about this, and to understand what is healthy, please seek professional advice. That's I'm begging you. If you have this, if you're not sure, you think he's overly controlling, get into a therapist or a Rebbitzin or a wise older person. Yes, of course, it's also an illusion that he has control. Only God does. Nonetheless, meaning your husband needs control, but he doesn't have control. God has control. But nonetheless, God himself designed men to need that control for reasons we will never know. If we steal his control, the entire home will be miserable, as you may know from personal experience. Further, fighting for that control causes us more anxiety and stress than almost anything else in life. You want to watch how fast tension zips out of your house? You want to feel the stiffness in your neck and shoulders ease up? You want to see what it feels like to truly relax? Just let go of control. Okay, last section, our husband's will. So, what is the ideal wife according to the master of the universe? Prepare yourself, because it took me years to be macabre to accept this information, and here I am serving it up to you on a platter. But rest assured, thus far, Hazal have taken us to glorious places in our marriage. So too, these treasures have the power to massively decrease the stress in your life and grant you a husband who cherishes you beyond words. The Tana, Devei Eliyahu says, a kosher wife does the will of her husband. The Shalah HaKodesh writes, a woman should follow her husband's will over her own will, even when in her eyes it seems baffling. The Gemara states that if a woman listens to her husband, even when it is difficult for her to do so, she will merit children who are Talmidei Chachamim. The Rambam says that a husband should be like a king in his wife's eyes. She should have a certain awe. Her actions should be according to his will. The Gemara relates a story of almost comical miscommunication between a husband and a wife who spoke 2 different languages. The husband tells his wife to break 2 melons on the bava, which in his language meant stoop, like a stoop, like outside your front door, you have like a curb. So the wife, or on your steps or something. So the wife goes and breaks them over the head of the Gadol Hador, Bava ben Buta. Baba ben Buta asked her, "Why did you do this?" And the wife answers, "Because my husband told me to." Baba ben Buta then replies, "Since you followed your husband's instructions, Hashem will give you 2 sons who are as great in learning as I am." And she did have 2 great sons. So as difficult as these teachings were for me to digest, the ones I just read to you, like, hello, as difficult as they were for me to digest, the message was unmistakable and unambiguous. For me, I can often find clever ways to disregard things that have shades of gray in them. But these lessons were black and white, which made them so much harder to argue with. Perhaps that was a good thing for me, so as to avoid the annoying internal quagmire that would have ensued. But these sources are clearly saying that if we follow our husband's will, Hashem will bless us. Unfortunately, there are no lengthy footnotes stating that we only have to listen to our husband's will if we think he's right. And there is no source that I could find that says if we make the smartest decision, it will be blessed. In fact, even if our husband is making what we consider to be a bad decision, if we mavater for shalom, that means we give in for shalom and follow our husband's will, one way or another, it will work out for the best. As the Mishnah states, Hashem did not find any vessel to contain a blessing for the Jewish people other than shalom. Where there is shalom, there is blessing from Hashem. Okay, woohoo! Now we got the questions. Faggy, what's our first question for the day? This is some heavy-duty stuff, ladies.
Okay, Samira asks, I have a friend that always puts her husband down in public. We all feel terrible for him. How can I approach my friend about this?
Wow. It's a toughie. The truth is it's so none of her business, but there is an meaning that a woman you're supposed to give techacha where it's needed. But there's another Indian that says, don't give techacha where it won't be heard. So we got a little bit of loop to loop on what we're going to do here. I think there's nothing she can do about it unless she's close with the lady. If she is not close to the lady, just try and not be at the table very much, unfortunately. If it's a sister-in-law or brother-in-law or somebody where you're seeing them every Shabbos or on Yontif or, whatever, then you're kind of stuck. If it's somebody who you're close with, then you can have a conversation with them. And being close to them, it means that, if they turned around and told you something you were doing wrong, you would be open to their criticism. Okay. So that means very close. Okay. It means you, and if you do give them techacha, you have to prepare yourself that they're going to feel very comfortable to give it to you. So if you're close with them, and if you're not close with them, I would stay away from it and try and stay away from them. If you are not close to them, but you see them a lot, then you're just going to have to, try, if they're doing it, try and close them down. Like if they say, oh, you want to know what my husband did? Say, actually, we don't. That's a perfectly that's fine. Because it's or you can say to them, you can say to her, do you want to listen? Do you want to learn Lashon Hara together? Something like that. But, you've got to use some creativity, maybe talk with somebody else who's at the table. It's not Lashon Hara, because you both know that if there's more than 3 people there, and she's doing that behavior, you can talk to somebody else at the table and say, I'm not quite sure what we should do, because, Alice always, is putting her husband down, and I feel bad for him and I feel bad for her. It's embarrassing in public. There's so many things wrong with it, and I feel uncomfortable. So, maybe the two of you can take her out to lunch and say, I'm not quite sure what we should do, but here's the situation. We feel uncomfortable. What do you want us to do when you get into one of those moods where you're putting him down? I'm not sure it's going to be so successful unless you're close with her or unless you're seeing her a lot, and it's a big problem because it is lashon hara what she's doing. I think I'm basically a little bit, I don't know if you know the expression, throwing spaghetti at the wall, and seeing what sticks. That's an expression where, you can visualize it. You just throw spaghetti and see what sticks. So in this situation, especially because I don't know the specifics so much, but in this type of situation, it could be that you brainstorm 10 different things you can do. You can confront her. You can say, when her husband makes oh, what my husband did? He eats with his mouth open, and you're going to throw in, oh, I love when people eat with their mouth open. Then I know that they love my food. I don't know. You brainstorm many different logistic and solutions, and then use your Bini Sarah or a good friend or a confidant. Better yet, if you have a friend out of town who you can ask it to, who doesn't know this person, and you don't give their name, and you say, what would you do if you had somebody who's always putting their husband down? I thought of these 10 possible ideas to do. What do you think of them? Just so you both double check yourself to make sure that you're doing something that is appropriate or that will be successful. And also it helps you to have the koyach to do what might need to be done in the situation. So it's a tough problem. Again, that's not really a shalom bias issue. This is an issue for maybe go ask a Rav or a Rebbetzin. We don't have a source in your own shalom bias of how that will be solved, but that would be where I would probably go with this. Throw spaghetti at the wall. Okay, what's the next question, Faggy?
Okay, so Esther asks, it's such a fine line, men having a normal need for control or an unhealthy need for control. How can we tell the difference while dating? What are the red flags?
Genius. Okay. So I'm not going to address the dating aspect of that. There are many very, very good articles and books about that from people who are very well trained and well versed and licensed in dealing with controlling issues and abusive relationships. So I would turn to those for that, the answer to that. But in a marriage, you're absolutely right that it's a shade of gray, that it's really hard to determine whether our husband's behavior is controlling because we have not given him the control he desperately needs, or whether he's controlling because that's his personality and nothing we do will help the situation. It's a matter of introspection and owning up ourselves. In other words, it's very hard to admit, I am taking control over what car we're buying because I am smarter. I do more research. I have better opinions about these things. My husband has a history, bought 3 clunkers in a row, so I'm just taking control. So there's a very small fine line between that kind of control that is causing a distance in the marriage, or that kind of control which is actually helping the marriage. Yeah, it would be better if you lose less money if she picks the car. But on the same token, if losing money is the criteria we're going by, then that would be correct. She should do it. That's not the criteria we're going by. The criteria we are going to judge our entire life by is how much shalom we brought into our home. That's it, ladies. That's why you're here. We're caught up in 1,000 different things where we are going to be judged after 120. How much shalom did we bring into our home? And if that means buying another clunker, that is the right decision. So everything that we're looking at now, it is a gray and a fine line and so forth. A woman should try everything she possibly can to let go of control. That's the best way to tell whether if it's healthy and she lets go of all control, the husband will start stop grabbing control. He'll ask her opinions. This is Chazal. This isn't my, you know what I'm saying? If she lets go of control and he takes more and more and more and more and more, that's the unhealthy kind. And then you need to get help. But you will know if you start letting go of control and you ease up and you just giving him more and more control. And he does, like Baba Ben Buta, you know, there's a source there where it talks about how, you know, a husband will bend down and listen to his wife. I think that's Baba. I might be misquoting, but anyway, you get the point. If that he will listen to her more and more, the more control she gives him. Try it. This is a homework assignment, is that to try letting go of one thing. And then you'll start to see things turning around in terms of your husband feeling the control he needs like oxygen. Brilliant question. Okay, Faggy, what's our next one?
So, Yael wants to know, what if my husband's will involves doing something that may harm others physically or emotionally? For example, going to someone's house when you are sick, or telling someone that you can't ever have them over, like to your house, officially because they annoy him.
So I'll take the two examples. A very good question. Not, you know, the going to someone's house when you're sick, you're saying, and not telling them. You can ask her what she, not telling them that you're sick. Let's take both examples, I guess. So you're saying that I mean, I think with COVID and everything, you kind of have to tell them if you're going to their house. But if your husband says, no, we aren't going to tell them, we're you know, let's just go. That is a safety issue. And especially if you know that the people in the house either are immunocompromised, or there's an older person there, or there's a young baby there, or, you know, it's just not nice to give everybody the flu or whatever. In a situation like that, you know, there's so many situations. If a woman is giving her husband control all the time, then when something like this comes up, right, if he feels totally like he's controlling, when something like this comes up, she could say, oh, what do I do? You know, it makes me feel like crying. I can't, please listen to me on this one, or whatever. He'll listen to her because she listened to him and everything else. If she's not listening to him on anything, then when it comes to something she really, really feels strongly about, he's going to fight. He's going to dig his heels in. So a woman can do a great deal for getting herself listened to on her crucial items by listening to all the other things. Then when it comes to something that's really deeply important to her, he'll listen. That's the first advice for this thing. The second example you gave about, what was the second example, Faye?
About not having them over because they, let's say, annoy you.
Oh, they annoy you. Yeah. So that one, that he has a perfect right to. It's his home. It's his home. And if the person annoys him, so you know, look, if it's your sister, okay, you know, that's a little tough. So if it's your sister, then you have to make compromises with him. When you have to sit down. When you're well fed, he's well fed. You know, you're well rested, he's well rested, and you're in a time when you can have just a normal conversation with him. And then you need to say something like, you know, what should I do? I would love my sister, and I feel so badly, and I want the cousins to get together, and I this and that. What, you know, and you take the problem and you hand it in his lap. And for those of you on the podcast, I'm just taking my hands and cupping them into a big bowl, and I'm putting it towards the husband, so that will be filled and the husband can answer the question. So you put the problem in his lap and you say, what should we do? And you might come up with solutions yourself. You might say, oh, how about if I have her over on a weekday, or how about a weekday we'll have pizza, a Shabbos afternoon. I get it. She annoys you, and having her there all day is too frustrating. But how about if we have her for pizza night on a Tuesday night? So then they're done and gone, after pizza, they have to get home to get the kids' homework done, or, whatever. So you have to work out compromises, but for sure, every source that I can think of would talk about how you have to follow the husband's will, and bring close to him what he likes and keep away from what he doesn't like. And if she annoys him you're going to be stuck with an issue. So it might mean you're going out to lunch by yourself with your sister. Okay, so the cousins don't get as close as you would have hoped in your life, but that's your lot in life because God gave you this husband and he has that predilection. Is that the right word? He has that, that's how he wants it to be. And until you can really follow his will about that and follow his will about as many things as possible, you're not going to have that leverage, that money in the bank to try and have him do something that he definitely does not want to do. But if you're doing everything he wants and then you come to him with one thing, even if he hates it, he will try to please you because you're working so hard. Excellent question. Very, very good. Okay, next question.
So Deborah asks, I worry if my kids see their father being controlling, then they will be pushovers with their friends in the future.
Not your business. Not your business. Too bad. That God created him that way. That's how he is. It's not your business how he is to the kids. Your job is to treat him exactly with the respect and the control that he needs. And if he's being super overly controlling and they watch you, support him no matter what. And give him this, again, with a healthy, stable relationship. I'm not talking abuse. I'm talking healthy, stable relationship. Your husband's always grabbing control, likely because he's not given enough control, the control that he needs in the marriage, in the life. He needs that control. And when the wife is making all the decisions and telling him how it should be, and it's her way or the highway or whatever, he's going to work hard. His claws are going to come out of his hands and he's going to try and grab as much control as he can. So when a woman is listening to what his needs are, he's going to soften up. And when she gives him more control, he's going to soften up. And then he's going to turn to ask her opinion. Did that answer your question, Peggy? The question?
I think it did, yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. Next one.
Okay, so Ariella asks, are there any areas in which I shouldn't relinquish control?
Ooh, that's a good one. You guys are good. You got me on my, what's the word I'm looking for? Got me on my toes. Is there a situation where a woman should not give up control? It's a tough question because there are so many areas that she should be controlling. And he'll let her have control unless she's trying to control everything in his area and everything in their life and run everything and just wimpify him and, and just throw him in the gutter. I mean, so there's so many areas that are crucial to her controlling. I'll give you an example, bedtime. A woman, if a woman didn't control bedtime, her kids would be up till 2 a.m. and, she would be miserable. Nobody would be getting enough sleep. The tension level in the household would be insane, ratcheted up. There would be no pleasantness. There has to be control with bedtime. However, if the woman is so controlling that the husband is very much more chilled or whatever all the time, and there's always butting heads about it, the woman needs to sit down with him and say, look, when we don't hold by our X time bedtime or whatever it is, when we don't have a good routine or whatever, the kids are up in the middle of the night, or the kids wake up the next morning and they're cranky, or I'm cranky, or here's all the ramifications. And then she's taking her hands and she's putting it in his lap and saying, what should we do? So he might say, let me think what he would say. He might say, listen, I come home, my time is variable. Sometimes I'm home early, sometimes I'm home late, and I want to see my kids, and what's the point of having them? And, if they're already bed when I get home. And he might say, we're just going to have to live with them, with a crazy bedtime. So then she can come back and she can say, oh, all right, well, would it be possible if, Wednesday afternoon, the kids have violin lessons and, Thursday I'm doing all my cooking. So would it be okay if on Tuesday night and Wednesday night, the kids go to bed on time and the rest of the week it'll be chill? And as it is, Wednesday nights, you have that staff meeting. So sometimes you're early, sometimes you're late. So that would be a good night for me to be able to do that. Would that be okay with you, dear? Not my way or the highway, not, it has to go your way. Would it be okay with you? And if he says no, then say, okay, I guess I'll try and figure out plan B. And plan B might be that, instead of getting the kids up at 7 so that they can be at carpool at 8, you let them sleep till 8 and you drive them yourself. I don't know, whatever you try and make compromises if your husband's not budging on something like that. But again, if you're giving him control in a million different ways, but you're holding ground on something that you feel very strongly about, very, very high chance that he will bend his ear to you. Okay, so this is our homework for the day. Is let me just think. I was going to say, I know last week it was let go of control in one thing. Guess what, ladies? Let's have the same homework. Okay, it's so crucial. I'll tell you why it's so important to try it once, is because when you try it once, all the terror and fear we have about letting go of control, that then we won't be able to manage things well, and things the world will fly off its axis. Okay, whatever we think will happen when we have control, when it doesn't go bad, look, we can't say 100% it's not going to go bad. Maybe you'll say, okay, whatever it is, you could have a bad outcome. But for the most part, when you're letting control, particularly the little things that really don't bother you so much, but you start out with these little things, when you let go of that control and you see more closeness, it's very, what's the word I'm looking at? Irresistible. Like you want to do it more. Like, oh my goodness, I feel less stress. My husband took on this, whatever control. He's managing that stuff. It's just the best feeling ever. So let's make that homework, the same homework again, is to one time this week. And if you can do it every day, all the better. You'll get your muscles, they get stronger and stronger. One time this week, let go of control on something. Okay, it's Leah Richheimer. Thank you so much. You just don't know how grateful I am for you for growing and Shalom Bayis together with me. Mwah. See you next time.